Hi, fellas. Episode 7.
Welcome back to another installment of the Bringthesmoke podcast. It's the boy Trey with my homie.
Hey, it's your boy J-Dub. What it do, baby?
And of course, as always, we got Zach on the fire extinguisher.
Zach on putting cables where they belong.
Absolutely.
The great Bambino.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? What are y'all up to today?
Oh, man. I have been enthralled into Red Dead Redemption. It's great.
Oh, yeah?
On PC. Yeah. On my preferred platform. I realized that the controller didn't make me a worse shooter. I just suck at shooting on that game, period. I thought my accuracy would improve, but not at all. I'm still garbage. But I've been having a lot of fun riding my horse around Old Town Road.
I think that's intended functionality for the time period, though.
Oh, not being able to hit shit?
Yeah.
I can't hit the side of the barn.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's working as intended.
Yeah, so I've been having a good time with my friends. My uncle just picked it up today, and that's been taking up a good portion of my time, and I like spending it that way. I've been able to reset from vacation or the holidays. Thanksgiving was pretty taxing, right?
Yeah.
It's always taxing with the family.
It's so weird that these days we decompress by becoming a cowboy.
Yeah, that is true, man. That was some harsh days.
Well, and see, I'm actually the opposite. See, I'm playing Modern Warfare, so I'm hitting everything. So,
I did pick that up over the holidays,
which
too.
I will say the marksman rifle is my gun. Like, I'm just destroying little kids coming home from school with headshots. Like,
What's that KD ratio,
they're
bro?
about to be on break, too.
oh yeah,
Like,
nothing brings me more satisfaction of being perched down in like a perfect spot, and you hit a kid who's been just talking shit the entire match, and you just hit him with a headshot come around the corner, get called the N-word, and then you're just like, oh
yeah.
man, this is great.
You know you're
Like,
winning
I'm
when
so
you get-
glad I could be at home today.
when you
I
get
just
called.
won twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little badge of honor when the little kid calls you didn't work because you've been owning this shit out of
Oh man,
Yeah.
somebody get him.
Okay, now you said that. Now you're my focus for the rest of the match.
Oh, little boy 87, I'm coming. Yep, I'm getting him.
Yes. What about you, Zach? What have you been up to, buddy?
Oh, you know me. Just on the grind, trying to get my projects at work finished up.
He's a busy, busy man.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
appreciate you as always coming through.
Busier every day.
Yeah. It's hard to get a hold of.
So, well, the other thing too, Thanksgiving. We just missed it. What is your favorite dish? What makes Thanksgiving to you guys? Like, what is the dish that you need every Thanksgiving? Minus the turkey, maybe it's minus the dressing. Like,
I could take or leave turkey. I honestly was thankful I joined Chauncey and her family this Thanksgiving. They did like an Italian Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
But like turkey makes me just hella lethargic.
Yeah, it does.
not tryptophan.
Yeah, it works wonders on me.
Does a trip on you. Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's mom's dressing. It's the best thing in the world to me.
I do feel like that's something you can only get at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Is dressing.
Yeah. Sometimes I have them make it for Christmas, but yeah. My mom's like, you can miss every holiday, but bring your ass home for Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna be there because
Yeah.
I can't miss that dressing.
Yeah.
Lately, she's been doing an etouffee version of the dressing. I tried it for the first time.
What
It's
does
not too
that
bad.
mean for the layman like me?
Those who are not Cajun.
Yeah.
Yeah, she throws a little crawfish in there to spice it up. It has some nice spices, and
Man, that
in there.
sounds dang.
it's pretty good. It's not bad. But Mom, keep with the original recipe. I know you like to do your thing. Don't switch it up on me. What was yours?
What I would say, so it's my mom's dressing. She does a cornbread dressing. It's phenomenal.
Same.
Yes.
But the other thing I like for her to do, which I've missed it the last few years, not because I haven't been home or anything like that, just because she said she just wasn't making it. And both my parents are from Louisiana, so I have a very, very seasoned Cajun background. And it's not Thanksgiving without gumbo.
Yeah.
And when I go in the kitchen and I see the turkey, the dressing, got the sweet potatoes, you got the mac and cheese. My dad does this baked beans that he kind of sprung out on us. That it hits every time. Anyone who comes over, they're like, these beans, I don't know what it is, but they hitting.
Those beans.
But
Do they throw beer or anything in the baked beans?
I can't give recipes out on like line. What are you trying to say? You want the Popeyes recipe too?
Yes.
If you're listening, Popeyes, yes, we do.
Yeah.
I bet Takashi has a recipe.
I bet he does. But I'm used to seeing, you know, the big soup pot on the stove, and my mom goes all out. I mean, I'm talking crab legs, crawfish, sausage, shrimp. She'll put some snow crab legs in it. I mean, it's a meal in itself. And you know, I walk in the kitchen and I'm like, I smell everything except gumbo. Ooh. And I'm like, what happened to the gumbo? She's like, you know, I just don't have time to do all this. And I'm like, you made literally everything else. The gumbo just needs to sit and simmer. That's all it does after you throw everything in there.
Well, after 20 steps before.
You should have her just give you the recipe so you can make it.
Yeah, but it's I'm not at the stage where I can perfect it.
Yeah, okay.
You know, you're still trying to learn, like, okay, you know, I got to put the house slippers on. I got to, you know, go get the mail in a night robe or something, you know. Yeah. It's got to have
all that adds flavor to it.
Oh, all that adds flavor to it. So I got to watch Golden Girls. Yes. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So 2 episodes of Monk.
Yeah, I also need to shout out my uncle. He did a smoked duck that was great. So I'm kind of over the turkey. And then he also did a smoked turkey, but the smoked duck was phenomenal. My roommate Roy tried it too. He was like, yo, shout out to your uncle. He put his foot in this duck. So
well, the thing too about duck it's becoming popular is there's not that much left over. You know, you got to think about like a turkey. It's just, I mean, it's just everywhere after everyone's done eating.
Freaking fridge full of turkey that's going to waste.
And so, you know, duck obviously a little bit smaller of a bird. You know, and especially like the flavor seems to be a little bit more moist than what a turkey is.
Duck is fatty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it holds a little more flavor.
What is it? Fakwa?
Yeah.
So
the comfy.
Mm-hmm. Yo, you guys are well versed.
Oh yeah. Anyway. Well, I do it for a living, so
yeah, that's true. Yeah, man. What? So let's get to the hookah that we've been smoking on.
Well, you know, I dusted off the hookah.
Ooh.
Brought it on out this time.
Yes. Piece of art.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece.
I love just, you know, if you ever sit down and smoke with us and I bring it out, you'll find that this hits like no other. This one, the hookah, and also the Regal, I think has probably the best pull, smooth flavor, and you know, just an enjoyable smoke session. I mean, the one that the KM that you have is nice, you know, because I dig the ice chamber for sure, but I feel like it loses suction just the way that it's constructed.
Yeah, KMs aren't.
And I mean, if KM could get on us just so they could make maybe like a mid-grade hookah,
come on, Egypt,
we'll push it out for you. I promise you, because there's like 2 things that they need to adjust and it's on. Yeah. So, but you know, we got the Lotus Bowl out. Lotus Bowl is my favorite. I prefer smoking my hookah with a Lotus Bowl, hands down over foil every time. If every bowl could fit a Lotus Bowl, it'd be a game changer.
Okay, so that replaces the foil, like having to put foil over.
So it's a heat management device. You put your coals on, and the good thing too about it is like instead of having to puncture the holes, then you risk getting ash in and things like this. You know, you still get the same amount of airflow without the harshness of sucking, you know, ash in as your coals ash.
And it's just contained away from it too.
Well, I think it just holds heat better than what a foil would do because it's also a wind cover and, you know, a heat management device.
You can't smoke like that at a hookah lounge.
Yeah, no.
No, you can't.
Not one yet. Yeah,
far beyond.
You gotta have a guy. We got a guy. But yeah, man, Lotus Bowl is the way to go. The cover, you know, you have the cover to put on top of it to keep the temperature of the coals just right, and you can open and close that on top of that.
Uh-huh.
And
beautiful.
And then on top of that, I got a shisha from Sir Bentley called Lemon Cake. Now I don't have to mix like 20 different flavors to make that lemon cake. Sir Bentley did a great job in prepackaging a lemon cake flavor shisha that is both smooth, tasty. I added a couple little things to it just to.
You said you added the French vanilla, huh?
I added some French vanilla and some chai spice to it, just to kind of oomph the flavor profiles out.
I think that's probably what makes it a little bit more of like kind of like that moistness to it a little bit. You know what I mean?
They have a lot. The chai has a lot of juice to it. Mm-hmm. So whenever you load a bowl with that, make sure you take a tissue, stick it up in your bowl, and kind of clean out the juices that might drip down from loading that.
But see, here's the thing though about this new bowl that I was just telling you about. You know, it's channels it so that it doesn't affect your hookah session. So it's not until the very end, probably when your shisha's starting to dry out, that juice can kind of, you know, saturate it, maybe extend your session a little bit. So
yeah, another thing that I did that I found that is important when you load a bowl is to when you open the bag, just squish the shisha around a little bit and let those juices really seep into your tobacco before you dip in and take it out and put it in your bowl. I think that's really important so it doesn't drip as much.
Yeah, you don't want it super, super wet, but you don't want it, you know, dry as if you're, you know.
Yeah, that's why I put it on the napkin too to soak up a little extra, but not too much. It doesn't soak up too much, but just enough to where it's just not leaking everywhere. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you always have to get you some Cocoa Earth coals.
I think it's, you know, the quick light coals. I mean, we just need to go ahead and discontinue. I mean, you know, I'm protesting Cocoa Earth or quick light coals from now on out because the Cocoa Earth, man, it's done.
Those quick light ones, the taste of the coal seeps into the shisha for whatever reason, and then they just stink up wherever you're lighting them up.
Yeah,
and it looks cool when you light them up. They kind of spark across when you light it up, but you know, they don't last that long. They mess with the flavor that they have, and until somebody sends me some quick light coals that don't do that, which I don't think that it exists at all.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. So I'm sticking with Cocoa Earth coals from here on out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Man. But you know, so came through obviously with the Wuka, and then you know, I had that Sahara Vortex bowl. Unfortunately, I was super excited about it, and then it doesn't fit on the Wuka just based on the make of it. I've tried different grommets and things like that, and it won't fit. It's just too airy. So, hey, Merry Christmas, man.
Yeah, so I got a nice little gift, and boy, it came through and hooked me up with a Vortex. Well, so I'm excited to try that out and see how much shisha it can hold and figure out kind of how to pack that. And maybe I can create a demonstration for you all to see how that goes, and we'll start posting all that stuff on Instagram for y'all to check out. So once we get that up and rolling, definitely check us out on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. We'll have some videos up for you all in the next coming year to kind of really dive deep into bringing you the smoke.
Yeah, for sure.
Smoke, not just hip hop, but really working on this hookah game that we got going. And I think we're becoming, we're easing on out of the amateur role in this hookah game.
Easing on down the road, as Michael Jackson said from The Wiz, if you've ever seen that movie.
Oh, yeah, it's a great.
As long as you have that hookah, you're far ahead of the game.
It's the nicest hookah I've ever smoked out of.
It's the nicest hookah I've ever probably seen in my life.
Yeah, like you said, this and the Regal.
The Regal is top notch, man. I just love it.
I heard the Germans and Russians are doing some amazing things. I haven't tried any of them yet, but if there's any companies that want to send us some German, Russian, or Russian hookahs, we'll happily.
Hookah's kind of hot now, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's what's
a big deal?
What's got hookah so hot now?
I think
I like it. I mean, we've always, fucking smoked hookah, but I feel like
it's really popping. Yeah, I think. I mean, it's an 18 and plus deal. You can get in there when you're in high school or whatever. You can kind of get in there. You see a lot of young cats sometimes up in there holding it down. We see a lot of old cats holding. I think just over the club bar scene, I think, and like all the dangers that come with that, and it's BYOB on top of that, and you can really get the lounge feel and just hang out.
Of check boxes for people.
Yeah. So
it's true.
I think a lot of people are coming out of that turn up scene and just want to really chill and vibe. So yeah, man. Moving on down the road here.
Yeah, man. So today's date, December 8th, 2019, man. We've had a death in the hip hop family today. RIP Juice World, man. This guy, he's been an up and coming MC for a while. He's a producer, kind of come up under the wave of mumble rappers. He fought against the stigma of that. He felt like he was putting out quality music compared to some of his other counterparts. And, unfortunately, it sounds like, with the initial reports, he had a seizure in the airport and was rushed to the hospital, man. And, I mean, he's no longer with us, man.
Yeah, so RIP to Juice World and his family. Send our condolences out to them, man. Wasn't a huge fan of his, but he had some quality tracks that weren't too bad. I know he was really big on the scene with that Lucid Dreams, really trying to dig into that Cudi vibe there, and Girls Are All the Same. And I know he did a big project with Future, and from that album he had Fine China. That was a really standout track on there, but he was doing okay, man. But I think really what got to him is that whole drug culture is heavy with the youth.
Well, so I'll pose this question to you guys because being the age that we are, the 30 plus kids, there's always been speculation that we come from, our generation was the drug dealer era, and that this particular generation was the drug user era. Do you guys think that, look, he talks about drugs a lot. The album art, definitely emphasizes that and things like that. And while I don't want to see anyone lose their life to drugs, I could only assume that he was probably a heavy drug user based on the, his music promoted and things like that. Growing up, we always had 3 6 Mafia. Yep. We had Afro Man. We had stuff like that. And, I mean, they also pushed a hell of a lot of drug culture, but it was more from a dope dealer perspective and not necessarily the dope user perspective. And so the question I pose is, like, are we dealing with, the side effects of one generation pushing something onto the next, and now we have people, because these kids are young. I mean, Juice WRLD, I believe, is 21 years old, just had his 21st birthday, less than a week ago. And, this is just the environment that he grows up in. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, from the little bit of music that I've heard of him, I mean, it's heavy intoxicated in his music. So,
yeah. I mean, come on. He did a joint album with Future, which is one of
I would
the
say
big
that's
promoters
like the biggest,
of that drug
in my
culture.
mind.
I kind of want to put it on,
That's
ask a question to
interesting.
Future himself, like,
That's
how much
really
of that,
interesting.
how much of that of your music and your style and what you talked about was imprinted on this kid and led him down the path. Future came out, I think it was this year, he came out and said, hey man, I don't do that stuff anymore, but you still rap about it and these kids are still listening to it. Do you, from that standpoint, do you have an obligation to watch out for this up and coming MC to make sure that they don't fall down the same path that you did,
Well, and I just think too that because he's so young, he's very an impressionable kid, And I mean, given the music that he came up with, I mean, we take Future, like I said, he collabed with him, but also in the last 5 years, we talked about some, decade artists. Future definitely is in one of that category where the last 10 years we've dove into Future and Percocets and Xans and things like that, all a part of this drug culture. Little Peep.
I feel like the mainstream drugs were different for our generation too. It's more like uppers in our generation with like crack and cocaine and meth making like a appearance and stuff, and now it's like heroin and like
they're mostly
opioids and
lean.
Everything's an opioid, really. Lean, yeah.
I mean, the South really promoted that.
Well,
that
I mean,
opioid.
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, Muddy Cup, man.
Yeah,
that's been a staple
Texas
for.
tea.
That's true.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, and that's always
oil.
been in the background. Heroin, of course, has always been in the background.
Because it was taken.
But now
the
it's
rock
in,
stars
like,
back in the '90s. You think about it. I mean,
even
it
our
was all-
parents,
Yeah, absolutely.
in some cases have issues with it.
Which this I don't want to. I'm not joking about death by any means. The opioid crisis obviously is a huge thing, but so the South Dakota has a huge heroin and meth problem as a whole as a state, and so they released a drug campaign, and so the T-shirt is the state of South Dakota, and their motto is meth. We're on it.
Bleh.
As opposed to saying
Like as if
we're
they're taking care of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But for someone who is not as sharp as us,
I'm gonna hit an archer.
it reads different. You know what I'm saying? So
Phrasing.
That is
Yeah, that was a hell of bad phrasing
genius.
on that.
You know, somebody was in that meeting. Just
I wanted a shirt.
snickering.
I'm determined to find the shirt because I want to wear the shirt to support.
That's your
just
dare shirt.
the
yeah, of course,
actual,
the actual
concept.
thing.
Yeah,
Just to hear,
but then get to explain that 100 times.
Was it the governor or senator? Some politician was like, "Hey, we got people talking about it, so yes, it's working." Right?
Right.
Can you blame him for it?
I mean,
we are talking about it.
infamy does have the word fame in it.
Yeah, do you want that kind of attention? So, once again, R.I.P. to Juice WRLD, man.
absolutely, man. God rest the dead, and it's times like these where we sit back and reflect on his contribution to the hip hop culture, and much like everything, he did have a stronghold on a section of the culture, and he'll be severely missed, man. Because you got to look at the generation under us, man. They've already lost XXXTentacion. They've lost, unfortunately, they lost Juice WRLD.
Mac Miller, man.
Yeah, a lot of people that were, pioneers to this generation, while we can respect, their music catalog, just what they did and how they made noise and things like that. Much like how we lost MCs and prominent figures where we're coming up,
Yes.
it does redirect the energy and, who we become as a person, because instead of, this person taking us forward, it reminds us to always look back and appreciate the time that people were here. So,
Right. We'll never get to see how he progressed.
and especially so young is what he did. One person that I really love and we lost at a young age is Amy Winehouse.
Oh God.
And
yes.
that was my girl, because
too.
I
she
would
loved.
love to see what
Oh
she's
man,
doing right now.
you know what I mean? So she was in her own lane. I loved her style. She was just everything about her. I was just absolutely mesmerized by her music. And it's gone too soon as the classic Michael Jackson song. But it always is a reminder. Like we can go back and appreciate someone else making an impact in our lives, making an impact in culture and things like that. And so while this does not necessarily affect me as strong as maybe some of the others, I know it impacts a lot of people. So I just want to say, God rest the dead.
Yeah.
True, and we can honestly never know how much it would have affected us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on, man. We got a big MC that dropped recently.
Oh, yeah.
And he is a well-versed hip-hop artist in the game. And just so happens his name is The Game.
The Game.
Yeah.
Born to rap. I've been a fan of this guy for a long time. I was one of the few people that West Side Story and, of course, some of his earlier mixtapes, too, where I felt like he never got the shine that he needed, back when in his early days before he signed with Dr. Dre and Aftermath G-Unit Records. But, he dropped this project, man, and it's a double album, which let's just talk. Let's talk about it. It was.
You know how long it was by any chance?
Haven't you told me?
No, I can't. Off the top of my
The
head.
runtime.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I want to say like 112 minutes.
So like an hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think it was about an hour and a half. Yeah, you're probably about right. Yeah, man. The crazy thing that I liked about this album was it had the West Coast feel, but then he had a lot of seemed like B-side tracks on there for gangster rap, I guess you would say.
And we had gotten a conversation the other night with a group of people, and we were talking about how this album really was like a dedication to the West, Obviously Nipsey Hussle, Dom Kennedy, a lot of up and coming West Side artists that I don't know if they're signed to Black Wall Street or his independent label that he pushes out, but I mean it just felt really West Coast. Anytime I get an album like that, I'm like, I just need a Cherry Impala convertible, and I just want to roll through the streets because
the switches.
Oh yeah, this is just that was just the vibe, of the album. And I'll be honest, this album you either love it or you don't. There are tracks that didn't necessarily stand out for me, but then it always led to another track where I was like, okay, this is going in the playlist.
I think he did a good job in mixing up the tracks that were like bangers and then hitting it with the track that not as banging as the previous track. So you kept, it was like a roller coaster. You were able to ride it all the way.
You were riding. Yeah, I mean, it's a ride mix. Not everything on the ride mix is is going to hit the way that one track does and things like that. This album's good. I wasn't expecting much from it. Not all of Game's projects have been knocked out of the park. So for you, well, what is your best Game album off top?
It's gotta be the toss-up between Devil's Advocate and his first one, the documentary. Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
I did like 1992 a lot. That was really good. That was it had the one with the LA riot on there, and I listened to that track over and over and over. And I thought that was a really good track. It was kind of him talking about where he was doing the LA riots. I think that song alone made the album a really good banger for me. But yeah, what about you, man?
I Devil's Advocate and the documentary. Jesus Piece was an album that I had kind of listened to once through and wrote it off. And there's actually a lot of good songs on that album that I feel like goes underrated. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to dethrone documentary for me.
No.
I mean, you're just not.
No, not at all. It had the best West Side feel to it out of all his music, to be honest with me. Even more than LAX.
Put you on the game with that sample. And I mean, it's heavily Dr. Dre produced. I think that's the other thing that makes that album stand out. But lost my train of thought for a second. Let me come back. The problem with double albums is you have a plethora of tracks.
Yeah. And
if it doesn't hit, we've talked about double albums on here before. When the double album, when you start talking about tracks you can skip, why not put those tracks on maybe a mixtape and try to push those out? Because if you put the 10 or 12 tracks that I enjoy on this album, Born to Rap, this might make it into the top 3 albums because the songs that are on this album that I like, I love. There's, 8 to 10 that I was like, oh, I don't know what we're doing on here, Game. Like,
yeah,
it's it's a rocky road, but go ahead.
Yeah, no.
No, I never understood the double album concept. I get there's someone like the Underachievers where they have one half an album, to get dedicated to one theme, and the second half of the album is dedicated to another theme, and so you kind of get the balance of, okay, this is just this theme, and then the second, side of the disc is this theme. But this one, I mean, it's just all over the place as far as there's not really a cohesiveness to the project in itself, from track to track.
Yeah.
For me. So
I understand what you're saying, but I think I may be jumping ahead here on the topics, but I think that he did it like this because this was technically supposed to be his last album. So he tried to give you everything he had left in the gas tank here.
Yeah.
And it may have missed its mark on trying to give us everything like that package like this. And if he just would have, like you said, really hit with those 10 tracks that were just the bangers off of there and then went out like that and then maybe put out a mixtape, he probably would have done well. It probably, like you said, may have hit the top 3 or tied for a third.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that I did notice on this album is that he had a lot of samples that like old school hip hop samples that were dope.
And being that it's last album, I mean, I guess you just go for the gusto. But I mean, is this going to be a last album or is this going to be a Black Album type of vibe? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because Jay-Z has retired multiple times.
Yeah.
So
I think he can't have a last album without having his Jay-Z feature. That's one of the things that I noticed on here. If you ever listen to Game, he really bigs up Dre and talks about Dre pretty much every album. In this one, he was really talking about Jay-Z and wanting that feature. He's like, that's like the only thing that he hasn't done in the game is get his Jay-Z feature. And I feel like for any artist, that stamp, you get a Jay-Z verse, it solidifies you as a major player in the role to get in the rap game to get a track from him. What do you think?
Name a bad Jay-Z feature.
It's impossible.
It's not.
It's not impossible. Name it.
Mr. Nice Watch, J. Cole.
Oh, I mean, I have to re-listen to that track. I can't.
That's the only one that I think I dislike.
Oh,
That's the
why?
only
Why?
one.
What do you dislike? His just verse wasn't good.
Well, okay, so what I have a problem with is this is the J. Cole that was trying to sell records. So
Okay.
I already was against Sideline Story. I get that it was, it's its major debut album. A lot of people are pushing. I think that Sideline Story is, when Jay-Z had Rock Nation and he had Rihanna, J. Cole, somebody else that doesn't come to mind at the moment. And so he was really trying to push it. So that particular album is super washed. Especially when you compare it to what he does moving forward. I mean, you get Bored and Sinner, and then you go into Forest Hill Drive.
Yeah.
And obviously, albums by J. Cole seem to get better with time. But this one in particular does not, for me. So I like Sideline Story, the track. But Mr. Nice Watch with Jay-Z, nah, it's not, I think he called it in, as they like to say, Because
Okay.
you know how artists are, or how executives are who rap. Nelly has to get on the Saint Lunatics album, or he's got to get on the Big Gimp album. He's got stuff like that. So you're not necessarily, he's getting it to push the project through. Like this is, me being on it, you'll sell X amount of records just because I'm on it. But since then, I think J. Cole has matured, and for the better, and it has to be with his mentorships and things like that. So I would agree with you that getting a Jay-Z verse really kind of solidifies you in the game, but too early of a feature, and you might have to rethink your whole trajectory as far as like where you're going to be at in this culture. And I think J. Cole getting it too early maybe made what J. Cole is now.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that Drake and like all these other artists have got Jay-Z features, but the game hasn't gotten one. Kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
I hope it does happen because I would love to see the two of them go back and forth on the track. It would be great. I hope one happens. Maybe it sits in a vault for a while or something, or just a little throwaway, man.
Yeah.
Just make it happen.
Well, and the other thing I was watching recently was an interview. Talib Kweli has a podcast, and he brings a lot of celebrities, hip hop artists mainly, to his show, and he, because Game was on his publicity tour for the album, and so they were talking about as far as like his influences and inspiration for this project and whether or not this is going to be his last album and things like that. But one of the questions that Kweli had asked was what would it be if 50 Cent beef never happened? Like, what if he stayed on G Unit? What if they still had their same, back and forth, working relationship and things like that? Because, that split from him and G Unit and him not being able to get Dre beats after he left, G Unit Records is a big deal for his career.
It is, yeah.
So you take that out, Kweli had posed the question, one, is the beef really over considering the fact that you essentially lost a good, fair share amount of money because 50 Cent cut you off? And I mean, Game being the G that he is like, I didn't lose anything.
Nah,
But I mean, could he have used maybe 10 or 12 Dre beats? I mean, I don't see people turning that down.
nah, never.
But also the collabs between him and 50 Cent because, like I said before we started recording today, was they have arguably one of the biggest records in hip hop with Hate It or Love It. Mm-hmm. And, those are classic verses from both of them. That could have been obviously more of like a Jay-Z, Kanye type of vibe where, we could have got some great projects from the two of these people. And, Game said even though he was saying that this more than likely will be his last album, he wasn't opposed to maybe doing a joint album with 50 Cent, which, I get it. They're a little bit past their prime, but I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying?
I think 50 Cent could use Game sitting in his writing corner anyway, writing those tracks. On 50 Cent probably could hold down the hooks really well for whatever he wanted to do, but just having bars for bars, I think that would definitely benefit 50. But I think Game can just hold it down on his own, whatever he spits. So I'm a big fan of 50. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying, like, recognizing lyricism there. Like, 50 wasn't the greatest.
He was a bully, man.
Yeah,
he's always been a bully.
Yeah, he was the greatest lyricist. But I noticed, hate or love it though, those bars were nice. That was some good collab there. Even though 50 Cent said he wrote most of it, I think 50 Cent wrote the hook on there, and his verses were a little more intimate on there. But that's probably as much credit I would give 50 on there. I think.
Yeah, I like he has. Yeah, I 100% agree with that statement. 100%. Yeah, you go down as a writer, for sure.
Yeah.
But they didn't say what you wrote, so.
Exactly.
And I mean, given the bully, I can imagine, 50 sitting over your shoulder as you're writing his verse. He's like, "Hey, I wrote this, all right?" Because that's 50 Cent.
Yeah.
That's 50 Cent.
So I kind of want to go on a couple notable tracks here. I thought No Smoke was really good. You really.
Oh yeah,
pushed that
I Miguel on a hook.
Yeah.
Really can't get away with that. Travis Barker on drums.
Yeah.
And
you can hear it too. It sounds like a pure hip hop track.
I always feel like, when it's featuring a famous drummer like Travis Barker or Questlove, or, we were talking about Anderson .Paak before we got on the joint, that they really kind of have to give their signature style, so that it's one of their albums or one of their their backings.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got that. Travis Barker is just so versatile that I know he does a lot of stuff. Known for obviously all of his punk rock contributions, but when he was with Yellow Wolf, DJ AM, and things like that, I mean, he holds his own. I mean, he's a phenomenal drummer. So
yeah. Hey, do you mind hitting those coals really quick?
Oh yeah.
Cooling off a little bit. Putting that lid on there. Yeah. So the beautiful thing about the Lotus guy.
Oh yeah.
Once again,
Put that lid on. We're good to go.
Yeah. And one of the other tracks. Speaking of Anderson .Paak.
Oh yeah, Stainless. That's just a
on there.
dope riding track, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can put that on. I'm gonna play it when I'm driving home tonight because it's just a very good riding track, good vibe, great instrumental, and Anderson .Paak is he the new Nate Dogg?
Wow. Man, that's Nate Dogg is legend. It's hard.
I'm not saying he's good as Nate Dogg, but I'm
okay.
just saying, like, is he someone that you can tap for to get that solid hook?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's replacing. Y'all looked at me crazy when I said that. I didn't say he's Nate Dogg. I'm just asking, is he this generation's Nate Dogg?
With the things that Nate Dogg could do to a track with a hook were just. I mean, you could have the wackest song ever. You throw Nate Dogg on it, and it just sounds like amazing. I'm gonna jam the track just on Nate Dogg's hook or his bridge or whatever you give Nate Dogg.
Well, okay, I'll give you a little test, see if I can trigger you right now.
Okay.
I got hoes.
I got hoes. Indifferent. Yeah. Oh,
But that's what I'm saying. That song is terrible.
Yeah,
When we play it again, that song,
is.
So I saw an article the other day when they were saying top 25 worst rappers. Ludacris was in the top 5. Now here's the problem. Ludacris to me is maybe one of the top 10 lyricists of like the early 2000s, like we were talking about. Yeah. But the argument that they were making was, it's not that Ludacris is bad. It's the subject matter and what he raps about is terrible. He can make anything work. Mm-hmm. That was always his strong suit, that he could just rap his ass off. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the subject matter and what he rapped about, trash. Mm-hmm. And that's what separates him from being like a Jay-Z and stuff like that. But you have to think, he's not talking about drugs. No. He's not talking about dealing drugs. A lot. But not dealing drugs.
Right.
When he got super like conscious, because there was that song with him and Trick Daddy when he was like, focus, what? That's not a good song. The concept is there. He has a good verse, but the song overall is just not good.
Yeah.
And that's the argument that the article was saying was, His problem is he's a talented rapper who just has absolutely nothing to rap about. And that's why he was on, which I was like, well, chicken and beer and and I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Yum yum.
But and like I said, he was just known for like zany verses that were tough. But at the end,
Or
I mean, you
being
compare
able to rap about whatever somebody puts in front of him.
he has like awesome punchlines and things like that. And he just had the charisma of someone who's just talented, where he can project his celebrity onto things, and he's good. But when you compare it to like, he's basically sums down to like a party rapper.
Yeah.
He's the Fast and the Furious of the rap game.
Yeah. I mean, he was around the era of Lil Jon and all them. I mean,
Atlanta.
The whole early Atlanta scene, minus, Goody Mob.
Killer Mike.
Yeah. Minus those cats.
Outkast.
Yeah, exactly. He was just around that party Atlanta scene, and, got to give him his props for that, because those rappers do have their place in the game.
Absolutely. And like I said, Ludacris is probably one of my favorite rappers, but he is in a different category when you kind of put it. Like, I was upset when I was reading it.
I was too.
I was raging because I was like,
why is Ludacris?
Why is this right? Why is this right?
This.
Why does no? Yeah. Absolutely.
Because Ludacris was the first rap concert I went to. My parents took me to see Ludacris, Fabulous, and I guess guy Overlord.
Okay.
At Auditorium Shores.
Do you know what album he was pushing at the time?
It was Word of Mouth. I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good album.
Yeah.
Roll Out.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have fond memories of Ludacris.
Absolutely. And like I said, he's, I can't talk about my high school career without talking about Ludacris, because
he's iconic in his own way, in his own right.
So,
So back on the game before we move off of him, like I wanted to talk about some of the samples he used. He used just a few of them. Kool and the Gang was on Stainless. People Make the World Go Round was Girls Make the World Go Round by the Stylistics. He used Rewind from Nas, which was my favorite track off of the album, because I just love that, telling the story backwards, because I'm dyslexic as hell. so it was great, hearing, and just like envisioning that movie happening while he's telling that story was perfect, and just hearing things happen, or hearing and seeing things in my imagination backwards was great. And then that just like a few of the samples that I like really heard and like stuck out to me, but there were plenty more on there.
Well, and the thing about, normally I'm a sucker for samples. I can usually pick them out, and again, because this is a double album, I got to listen to the whole thing in order to be able to pull out a lot of them things. So I might have to, after this show, and give me a couple of days to listen to it, from start to finish again. I'll put you on game as far as some of these other samples.
I love it when you do that, man. That's one of my favorite things that we talk about.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next artist here that I have. It's kind of like a group collaboration. It's this group called Clipping. They've been around for a little while. They have a real industrial sound to them, and they're very experimental. And they dropped this album in October, and I happened to miss it. And it actually makes for a great Halloween album if you ever want to listen to it. And the name of the album is There Existed an Addiction for Blood. The album cover is dope. It looks like a Hellraiser album cover when you look at it. The music is dark when you listen to it. It takes John Carpenter-esque samples from it, and they just put industrial style beats on it. Some of the standout tracks that I really loved from there was La Mala Ordina. They had some features from Benny the Butcher on there. A lot, and that song itself was sort of like a dark ghetto story, I guess you want to say, surrounded with like a soundtrack from Freddy Krueger or something like that. And it's just dope. So it's mainly cocaine talk on that one because Benny the Butcher, that's what he does. So
Well, and I know it's unfortunate that this project came about to our attention, before or after we talked about our Halloween playlist and stuff like that, because I know you as a fan of the horror genre, so something that really kind of mixes the hip hop and the kind of the gore and grotesque, kind of vibe. This would have been perfect for us to talk about for the Halloween playlist. So we'll have to definitely take into account the this group when it comes around for next year, because I'm hoping that they release maybe some more music that we'll be able to talk about.
Oh, absolutely, man. Some of the other tracks. I think my favorite track on there is "Run for Your Life." Like whenever people ask me, like, "Yo, what's some new music you've been listening to?" and I mention this artist, like "Run for Your Life," I think it's really dope what they did with this sound. So pretty much the artist comes in a cappella, and it's a song about I want to say a female that ends up in the wrong neighborhood, maybe in Hollywood or somewhere else, where she shouldn't be. And it's kind of like a drug deal going wrong, or maybe she's just tripping balls and thinks someone's chasing after her. But as he's rapping, there's a car driving around in the song, and as a car passes, you hear the beat from the track, and it fades from one headphone to another as it drives by, and you hear the person kind of like running in the background while he's rapping and telling this story. And I think it's really cool how they did that. And then towards the end of the song, she's like hiding in a dumpster, and you hear the car driving by again, and like the beat phasing through again. And I think it's really creepy, and I thought that was really unique way to tell a hip hop story and use the music to kind of push that horror feel of somebody chasing you or riding around searching for you, and you're just hiding. And he has like, you're hiding in the dumpster. Trying not to rustle the trash around too loud. Just really vivid imagery.
Well,
from his lyrics.
It's very cinematic.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And so that's something where artists maybe do it for maybe one or two tracks. It's interesting to find out that someone has taken that cinematic feel and really tried to put it as more of a concept for the entire album. So I mean, I haven't listened to the project in its entirety yet, but at the same time, much like Good Kid, Mad City, Niggas Bleed from Notorious B.I.G., where it's the beat continues to build as the story progresses, and you almost feel like attached to the story, like you're experiencing a movie with your ears, and you're letting your imagination just run wild, and it does something to you. It definitely pulls you in, and so I could definitely understand how listening to something like that is very an awesome experience. Got to have good headphones though.
Oh,
you're not going to do these with AirPods.
No.
This is just not going to be. It's not going to be the same listening experience. So
I did notice that listening to it on different sound systems, like it doesn't hit the same.
It's got to have the correct amount of thump to it, because something like Footsteps, it may be very subtle with some over the ear headphones. AirPods is just going to be really airy sound, and
Yep.
So
you won't get the phasing correctly and none of that.
No, absolutely not.
So it doesn't draw you into that creepy factor. I guess a couple more things that I like to say on it. There was a song, Blood of Fang or something like that.
Okay.
And I think I showed you this. I dropped you the music video in the Discord, and I was like, "Yo, if This Is America had a part 2 that was darker, this would be that song." And it kind of brought forth that imagery of he had the shaggy fro, the crazy beard. And
I thought definitely that he was building off the This Is America video, and when you sent me the video and I saw it, I'm torn down the middle, because in one part, sometimes I feel you have to leave artist integrity intact, and I get what he was trying to do. I just felt like there was a better way for him to get there was a better way for him to build off of it without kind of dressing similar to him. I see the concept and how it fit perfectly for his project, but this was just one idea that was probably on the table. There was probably multiple things that can go on, and
Yeah, because you got to think some of that's the
No,
director, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just don't want to like when it started. I was like, okay, this is America. He's definitely ripping this a little bit.
Yeah, he's
but
chained to a table.
Yeah. But I mean, as you watch the video, you're saying, okay, he just took that aspect of it and stuff like that. But given that this
A lot of guns in the video.
Yeah,
they're doing
just
surgery on an AK-47 in the video.
Yeah,
which was crazy.
So, and like I said, it's
stuff.
talking about how we are as a society and how we treat guns and things like that. Like
it's a very pro-black
Yeah.
song. He mentions a lot of Black Panthers in this song, actually. So it's not just. I think it's more of a version of "This Is America," where the black man stands up to the typical American view of guns is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it takes this American and puts a whole twist on it to make it a pro-black thing, but in a dark, twisted kind of way.
Yeah.
But you actually have to listen to the lyrics to even pull that out of it. So, I mean, that's just my own analysis. I could be way off here, but I've watched it several times, and I've really tried to dive deep into that imagery, and that's kind of what I pull from it. And yeah, I felt like it was his version of Strange Fruit too, in a way.
Okay.
Yeah. But y'all definitely check out these guys. They've put out several different albums. It's different. All their stuff is different. If you're tired of the same old trap sound, they're gonna give you that. So I hope you'll find it and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, so you and I have been hanging out. I'm always enjoying our hangs. And, we had the opportunity to go to a couple shows. We saw Freddie Gibbs. Well, just picking up from the last episode, but, we went and saw Jadena.
Mm-hmm.
That's still up there with best concerts of the year for me. Yeah. But we went and saw Freddie Gibbs, Benny the Butcher, and we'll bring some smoke with our last guest. But Benny the Butcher, I was very hyped because, with the year that he's had and the projects, and you bringing his music to my attention, I was glad that he came to Austin when he did, attached to the Album of the Year tour with Freddie Gibbs, because this guy's going somewhere. You know what I'm saying? His, the drug dealer rap, the cocaine rap, and everything like that. That's always, I like that.
It's so much storytelling in that.
Yeah,
that way,
I really enjoyed that. So I was excited about this tour. He put on a phenomenal show. Problem I had with it is that you let this fool go first.
Yeah, that was the weird thing. Trey and I like to kind of gauge and show up a little late so we can miss some of the crap acts, because we've been to enough concerts and know, like, look, man, every now and then you get a jewel that comes through that is a new up and coming artist. But when you go on these tours, like the first time we saw Freddie Gibbs, he brought some guys that
we thought was Wu-Tang Clan, like reimagined, and we were like, yo, they brought out 9 fools with mics. And so, like, I remember Jay and I looked at each other, like, we sat there, and I mean, it was like a Showtime at the Apollo. Like, they just kept coming from backstage with a mic, and then another mic, and then another mic, and then it got to the point where there were like 9 on stage. Me and Jay looked at each other and were like, yo, you want to check the score of that game real quick? Maybe grab a beer.
Watch hockey.
Yeah, I mean, we were
TV,
just tuned out. And I mean, obviously, this was during when Freddie Gibbs was on the Freddie tour. And so, obviously, Freddie had been wrongfully incarcerated. So this was kind of the tour that, was kind of getting everything back on track. And so it was interesting for me to kind of go out and support him, especially being wrongfully accused. But also good music was, kind of came out of the situation. And he put on a great show at Come and Take It. So the fact that he came back again, obviously Bandana is, like I told you, top 5 album of the year for me. So I was really excited about this project. And so obviously you told me about Benny the Butcher. But, I mean, just storytelling rap, just real street thug lyricism. I just love everything about it.
And the crowd knew his stuff, so it let me know, like, such early material for an up and coming artist. Everybody really vibing and attached. Like, usually when the first artist comes out, like, everybody might know 1 or 2 songs that they have, and maybe a few people that are real tuned in and have discovered this artist and rock with him. But nah, it was front to back. Everybody was vibing.
Well, and also, like you said, we're always kind of trying to gauge the crowd and stuff like that. I mean, these were young kids, so I mean, they definitely got some Benny in the playlist. They have to, because we were standing there by the door waiting for a couple of our friends to show up, and young kids at the show, man,
just kept pouring in too.
Yeah, I mean, it was packed.
Pouring in, yeah.
So, it was a good show. He put on a great show.
Definitely
like I said, the oddest thing to me was like, how do you let him open?
Yeah, he shouldn't have. He should have been the middle act, but we'll tell you why later on.
Do you want to do it right now before we get into Freddie, or you want to wait till after Freddie?
Yeah, let's give him a smoke.
All right, cool. So I got beef with Cousin Steez. Stiz, whatever.
Whack.
So here's the thing.
Whack.
Benny the Butcher got, what, would we say 45 minutes?
Yeah, it was short. It felt shorter than
It felt shorter than 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Steez got like a solid hour, bro. Like a solid hour. To the point where we were like checking our phones, and then we'd look at each other like almost upset. Like, yo, man, he's still on stage. Like, he's still performing. And I remember I went to the bathroom. I like went and got a beer. I think I ran into someone from work. Like, came back, and I was like, yo, like, when is Freddie going on, man? Because he's still performing. And there's always a point for me when we're at shows when you can tell, like, an opening act is just not, like, hyping the crowd up the way they're supposed to. And usually someone, whether the sound engineer or maybe someone backstage or whatever, they start to kind of lower the volume to kind of let the artist know that he needs to be wrapping up. Homeboy wasn't even paying attention to any cues. It got to the point where people were just standing in the front row watching. Like, waiting. No one's hype anymore. It had already died down. And he still performed like 5 more songs after that.
The crazy thing about that, his DJ before he opened the set was phenomenal and really set the tone to be some ultra hype. Like, this artist has kind of come out, is gonna rock the show,
and
right?
Especially because you're like, okay, if you put Benny the Butcher first, you're thinking Cousin Steve's come out here, he's about to tear the tent off this roof. Because why else would he go second? You know what I'm saying? Why else would he go second? And I mean, like I said, the first song had a lot of bass and stuff like that. And it's like, because there was an incident that happened with a rock show at Mohawk where, as they progress through the night, they only allow so many decibels, as they get through the night.
Yes.
So while it might not be loud, the energy of the artist can kind of impact for them to kind of turn it up a little bit and things like that to kind of build the night up. But it got to the point where it was just loud. It was annoying. I didn't really understand. Like, when we were just looking up. Yeah, it was terrible. Mm-hmm. And like I said, there was no crowd participation. Like, people were like, put your hands in the air. And I mean, they like kind of like do the wave throughout the crowd. Like, they're up and then they're down.
Yeah.
So it just the whole time we were watching, I was like, why did Benny the Butcher go first? Yeah. Because if he would have went second, we could have showed up 2 hours late. Mm-hmm. We would have got a beer. I would have saved like $80 at the bar, and we would have had a good time. But I mean, it just continued to go on.
We met some old heads in the line before we got in. I call them old heads. They probably weren't that old, but they weren't. They were probably our age or a little, about 5 years older or whatever. But during his set, they left. They left the venue. It came back with food, drinks. Like, yo, man, we had to get up out of here, man. They came back and like, yo, he's still on. we thought we left and gave him enough time to where he'd be off the stage. And we were having this conversation. It was like, man, that was whack. Yeah, so
y'all got steezed.
Yeah, man.
If I would have known we could have left, we would have. But the other thing, I was waiting for my boy B to come through, and B doesn't really have a concept of time. So, like, he showed up for Benny the Butcher, but, I mean, he really wasn't, like, on time. Like, he caught the last, like, 3 songs for Benny, and he was like, oh, I missed it? And I'm like, I told you. Like, I told you to leave your house. And he was like, yeah, but all right, yeah, you're right. And I'm just like, God, come on.
Just imagine if we would have been late and showed up for Cousin Steve's.
The full set.
Yeah, I would have been pissed. I've been like, what? Where's Benny, man?
Better put him on one more time.
Yeah, but then what the hell, man?
Bring him back out.
And, another funny thing, a story that I want to tell before we move topics was, remember those groupies that we saw?
Oh man,
They tried to get on the bus with Benny the Butcher.
I forgot. Okay, so here's the thing. So we get there to the show. The show hadn't started yet, and you got Cousin Steve's booth, you got Freddie's merch booth, and then you got Benny's over there. And so we go over there, and honestly, like I'm new to Benny, so I didn't know if Benny was working his own merch booth and things like I didn't know. So it looked pretty lonely over there. I was mad that they didn't have Plugs I Met on vinyl because they had every other album except for that one. So I'm gonna have to look for that one for my vinyl collection. But old dude, chopping it up. First off, I knew Benny was from New York because of how expensive the merch was. $80 beanie, bro. Get the fuck out of here.
Yo, it never get that cold here for me to pay
Hell
$80
no.
for a beanie,
Not
bro.
in Texas?
Nah, no sir.
I'm like, yo, what's up with the $8 for the beanie? For the beanie.
God,
nah, I can't do it, man. Hey, I'm just here to support him.
For me to sell at the end of the day. Like, yo.
Yeah. So he, like we said, Benny's on stage, he's rocking the crowd and stuff like that. And like a typical rap show, you're able to kind of cash out the spoils. And he had a couple girls that looked like they wanted to give him some attention and things like that. And so the luxury of not there being a backstage is that everything has to go through the back door or the front door. Yeah. So we were watching everyone closely. And look,
because you could take pictures with them.
Yeah, I mean, he was back there. He was vibing, dapping people up and things like that. And so obviously security was like, yo, get them girls over there because they were the only ones. Mm-hmm. Because here's the problem too, and this is what I told my wife. If I tell you that I'm going to go see Benny the Butcher, Cousin Steez, and Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, not a whole lot of girls are going to be at that show. That's not a take your girl to go. Unless your girl brought you the ticket and in rare form, they fuck with Freddie Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way that there's going to be like hella girls there.
Or she ratchet as hell and just fucks with that music.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So there's two things right there. Either you came to be a video girl or a thought, behind the scenes or something like that, or you really mess with the artist like lyrically and stuff like that. These girls in particular, thoughts. This is what they're here for.
They had it. Agenda.
So we watched them. We watched them come all the way back there. They're talking to security. They get in a little closer. They're starting to take the pictures, and then as the night's kind of ending, you see them kind of heading the way to the exit door. Wasn't even 5 minutes. Security brought them right back.
Yo, so they left the venue like they guzzled
down
the
bus was
drinks.
like right outside.
The bus is right outside. They just down the drinks because they were walking out with their drinks because they thought they were with Benny and can just leave with drinks like he does or whatever. And so they down them, or they might not even finish them. They toss them in the trash, and then they head to the bus. And then, like Trey said, 5 minutes later,
it wasn't even 5 minutes. It was not even 5 minutes, and they came back disappointed. And they walked by us and was like, "Damn, must have been checking ID at the bus too." Like, because they did not look old enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 18 for the record. They're 18. But Benny's probably like 34, 35.
Yeah.
The hell is he going to do with some 19, 20-year-olds that barely know,
catch a case, bro.
Exactly. Like, don't even want to be like
today.
Yelling at security, like, bring some grown women back to the bus. But there's the problem. There's none.
No.
Because either they're there with their boyfriends or they're there because they just fuck with Freddie Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? So
that was hilarious. We got a good laugh off that. And then
we got a really good laugh off that.
And later on, we saw him smoozing it up with Cousin Steve's. Like,
yeah.
I was like, yo, they're out here, whatever they can get tonight.
Hey, whatever you can get.
Yeah.
I'm getting on somebody's social media tonight.
Yeah. So
that's all they were there for.
Yeah.
And that, to me, it's hilarious because it's like, you missed a very good show. Not between Cousin Steve's hour and 15-minute set, but Benny the Butcher and Freddie Gibbs.
Yeah.
So, which, kind of switching gears, Freddie Gibbs, like I said before, bandana. The tour is called the Album of the Year Tour. And there's a reason for it because it is in my top 5 albums of the year. It's that good. Yeah. There's just, the project's dope. The production's dope. Yeah. The man's on fire. And you can tell that by when we go to shows, crowd participation, how hype the length of how hype the crowd, is able to kind of stay at that energy. There's been a few shows like that this year. When I went to Death Grips, obviously the crowd was just like insane. Jadena was like that. What other shows have we been to this year?
Man, there were so many I can't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We've gone to good shows this year, and that's just what it's been like.
The fact that you can have an artist stand up on stage and just rap, like have the beat in the background. And the great thing about Freddie, he doesn't have that vocal over, thing. One of the things he does a lot is just freestyle his stuff with no beats.
Oh, yeah.
The acapella his
So
stuff.
I do have a little bit of smoke.
But yeah, I'm gonna let you get. I'm gonna let you
go
get
ahead,
to that.
go ahead.
But he can hold the mic out, and the whole crowd can rap his entire song in every single one of them that comes up on there. He said, "Yo, I don't even have a set list tonight. I'm just gonna rap whatever." And the fact that he could do that, and then the whole crowd still know every single lyric, amazing.
It is
just
amazing.
Shows you like how much the fans love him, and like I love his following that he has. And for him to come back to Austin twice, amazing in itself.
Oh yeah,
that happened a
the
lot,
the
but,
thing
yeah.
is, the smoke that I will bring about the show is, and like I said to you at the
I
show,
think there's both shows, by the way.
yeah, but well, and see, this is the fourth time I saw him, because I've seen him at ACL, and then the first time I saw him is actually when Pinata came out, when he was at Fun Fest, and I was excited to see him. I was with my boy. Shout out to the Aussie. He was doing the same thing. When you get quality production like that, Madlib, why would you do your verses a cappella? Because what makes the song so great is the instrumentation to those songs. And so especially when he does songs like Harold, High, Thuggin', Deeper. I mean, he even did it with when he does Goddamn, Giannis. When he does all those and he takes the beat out and he starts rapping, I'm like,
We know you can spit, man.
we know you can spit. That's why I'm here. The whole reason I showed up, bought a ticket because I came for, but as much as I came for lyrics, I came for the instrumental too. I came for the instrumentals too. So it was
my chest, man.
yeah.
Come on.
Like I said, he still puts on a phenomenal show. There's no hands down, got no problem with it.
That's the
But
only
when
thing
you
you
get the
fix.
quality production, like we talked about earlier in the
No, he had to
episodes.
spin a grip on that production too. Madlibs
Exactly.
ain't cheap.
Yeah. and hey, maybe that's what it is. If I pay the instrumentals, I got to give Madlib more of a cut. Maybe that's what it is. But it's just like, man, come on. Let us hear the beat too, because it's quality. And I mean, he went off for a while.
Oh yeah.
He
was drunk.
Sweating.
He was drunk
oh
on
man.
stage. He was so drunk, bro.
Let me just tell everyone who lives outside of Austin: try to survive 6th Street.
Oh yeah. Try to come through.
Come on.
And we're talking about Red River 6th Street, so you're smacking the dab of dirty 6th Street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Come hit 6th Street on a Thursday night and tell me that you had a bad night. Yeah.
Man, bar after bar. Yeah. I'm sure he was getting lit somewhere. Free alcohol just flowing there. Yeah, man. Yeah, he even said, "Yo, I'm drunk." You could tell he was slurring his words a little bit.
He's like, "Man, Austin, man, y'all keep it 100, man. I don't even got to rap up here. I just point the mic to the crowd and y'all perform for me."
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you get a lot of money for this, don't you?
So shout out to Freddie, man. I did. I know. Last episode we talked about how I was gonna go see Jaden. I went to go see Jaden. Show was packed.
You had to go solo, man. I'm. So here's the thing.
I'm sad you didn't make it.
It's sad that I missed the show, but I wasn't necessarily disappointed, because the only reason I was going to the show, one, is because you paid for it. Mm-hmm. Two is because I was gonna clown you for it the whole time.
I respect that.
But then it's like what we said last episode. It was sold out. I can't really hate on a sold out show.
I'm talking about when we got there. The line, you know how emails is set. You have the security before you go through, and it wrapped around almost the whole damn block before Roy and I could get into the show. I was like, yo, there's a lot of people up in here, man. It was insane how many people there were. And I'm talking about, this was straight up Gen Z. Like, these kids were like 18, 19,
What? Oh,
20.
it's about. I was going to ask you for the age group.
Yeah, 18, 19, 20. And some maybe even younger than that.
What was the bar situation? Did you have to wait long for?
I have a funny story about that. So no, it was not long at all. The funny thing, I was standing there with my drink, and Roy was standing right next to me, and I'm sipping on my beer, and some girl couldn't be much older than 15. She's like, Can I have a sip of your drink? I just need something to drink. I was like, yeah, there's some water over there. She's like, no, I can't afford it. I don't want to pay for it. I was like, yo, there's a water cooler right there, and hell no, I'm not getting busted by TABC or whoever was up in here because I gave you a sip of my beer. And plus, it wasn't cheap beer. Like, hell no, you can't have my beer.
What? The White Claws are like $14 there, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not cheap.
I remember we were like, because we were talking about how we were going to talk about this when we went and saw Jadina. And it was right after your birthday, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember we walked up because the last time we recorded, that was like, we drank hella White Claws when we were recording the last episode. And so I was just in the spirit of last time we were hung out. I was like, yo, let's get some White Claws. And I looked like, yo, White Claws are like $12. Are you kidding me?
Yo, no.
No tip?
No.
That's how much a pack of them is.
And that's what I was like, yo, get out of here.
Yeah. So.
But, I mean, like I said, first of all, full disclosure, I'm not sipping White Claws by myself when I'm getting a butt. I just want to be clear. Yeah. But in the spirit of the good time that we had recording and stuff, I felt a little bit nostalgia and wanted to keep the vibe going. Yeah. But not at $12 a pop. You can get out of here.
Bring down the price of your White Claws. We know they're popular.
$12 damn water.
Yeah. You got to drink like 10 of them to even get a buzz. Like, yo, bring down the price of your drinks. Yeah. The one cool thing I do like about that spot is they do serve my mezcal. They serve Vita mezcal there, and I'm able to get it. So, like, I can start a little bit, get a little soda, a little lime on that, and it sets the move perfectly for me. Because that's what I used to, our first couple of episodes, I used to drink that, but I was getting hella tore up. Trying to record that episode.
That's how we get down when we record. That's how we get down when we record.
Hella tore up while I was recording.
Well, and speaking of drinks, my boss at work actually told me an interesting story about the cost of drinks. And apparently he's from San Diego. And I guess some people that lived in his building were huge Kid Rock fans.
Oh.
Okay.
Speaking of Kid Rock.
Let that settle for just a second. So apparently the previous time that he had come, there was complaints that the drinks were too expensive. Like, I'm talking like $13, $14 a pop for beer and things like that. Which, if you go to festivals and stuff like that, you understand that you're going to pay inflated prices because if you don't want it, go out and get it and try to bring it in. So I guess word had gotten back to Kid Rock about like how outrageous beer prices were and things like that. So he had an agreement with the venue that he would actually take less money so that the bars could lower their beer prices so that more people could come. And so he had the agreement with him, and they actually sold out the venue. He actually had to perform twice, back-to-back nights. And apparently, like, the beers were like half the price. But I said this to him when he told me that story. $12 for Busch? But also, too, like, I don't want to be at a venue when people can buy $3 beers. Because, one, that's liability that they have to take on.
Show, bro.
And two,
100% agree.
Absolutely. That's liability is like 100%. And like Kid Rock or the venue had to be like, you taking 50% of the liability if anyone that leaves our venue and kills himself because drinking and driving and stuff like that. And not because they don't offer safe transportation home, but because everywhere you go, they're idiots. Yeah. Absolutely. And so if they're not drunk off their ass doing stupid stuff like fighting, whatever, groping, the typical things that get people kicked out of it.
Roping or groping?
Groping.
Oh, okay. Because I could see roping happening at a kid.
Could be roping. A little bit of roping.
He can smell a pig from a mile away.
So, but also, someone being, immensely intoxicated to the point that they get behind the wheel of a car and unfortunately, have an accident that would, kill somebody potentially. So that's the other thing that kind of like the mindset kind of sunk in. It's just like, one, I can have a good time and go to a show and have a couple beers. I don't have to be blacked out drunk because
We lift to all our shows.
Let me just throw my support out for Lyft, Uber, and all the other ride sharing apps, and support safe driving, designated sober drivers. I mean, not buzz driving, nothing like that. I just want to be clear on that. However, if the beer is too cheap, these are the type of
You make a good point. Yeah, that's a fine point.
It's more like a deterrent to over.
Exactly. Like, especially like at festivals, can you imagine if we were at ACL like all day and beers were like $3?
Ooh.
Could you imagine that?
I hydrate myself off beers alone.
Yeah. So, it was an interesting thing that kind of set in, like, yeah, you negotiated it down, but I'm pretty sure the venue's like, oh yeah, you're getting in on some of this liability game.
You also have to think they're gonna run out of beer at some point in time, and then there's just like nothing you can drink at that point. So, hey, guess what? We're sold out. So now no beer. Now you all got to sober up or whatever. But
I mean, can you listen to Bar with the Boss sober?
Nope.
And it's more of a point of like person A getting 12 beers because they can afford it now.
That's true. That is true.
Well,
they're gonna limit you. I think that you can't forget that some of that responsibility falls on the bartender. I mean, I've worked the ACL a couple times. They make you get your TABC. And they're like, yo, if somebody rolls up to the station drunk, do not serve them and just let them know. But of course, you got to deal with that end of it. But don't forget, like if somebody drives home drunk from your venue and the police are able to identify where they came from, that puts your venue at risk, like you were saying.
But the venue, but that's the other
and
thing
the
too.
bartender.
Yeah, the bartender, because they came to you X amount of times and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I sympathize with that because bartenders, especially at festivals and at bars, exactly. And I mean, who knows? It's sometimes it's hard to determine who's more intoxicated than the other.
Some people are good at hiding it.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have gone to bars several times. That time when we went to Kung Fu for my birthday.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look, shout out to my boy D for the safe ride that night, because honestly, I didn't realize I was that drunk. We were having such a good time. We had gotten wings and a couple beers before, made it out to Kung Fu. I was whooping ass. I was whooping ass on Street Fighter. I was undefeated that night.
He smashed, man.
I was undefeated in Street Fighter.
Damn.
Yo, you hear that, D?
I'm just saying.
You hear that, D?
D. I was undefeated in Street Fighter that night.
What happened to Mortal Kombat though?
Apparently the sticks were broken. So I was killing. There wasn't an arcade machine that I couldn't kill somebody on that night. He got it on Blitz. He got it on Blitz. He got it on Mortal Kombat. He got it on Street Fighter. Mm-hmm. It was done. It was a wrap. Yeah. And then we were sitting there. We were having a good time. I ordered another beer. And the condensation on the glass.
Oh yeah,
was too much, and I dropped it. And I was like, I sat there and I was like, yo, am I drunk? Because I didn't feel like I was. And then D came through and he's like, hey, you're riding with me. And I'm like, yeah, it's late in the night. I can't even. Nah.
Didn't you ride there with him anyway?
I did.
Yeah, we rode there.
But here's the thing. Yeah. He was looking out for me anyway, because I was the guest of honor for that night. Yeah. Because it was just you and I. We were just like, yo, let's just get some beers, get some wings, and just hang out. It was supposed to be a chill night that night anyway. Yeah. And we were going to take it to the hookah bar after. Yeah. But then D was like, yo, I was like, just got out of the house. I'm trying to like cut loose a little bit. I'm like, all right, cool.
Can't get out of the house that often.
Yeah. So he came out and got killed on the arcade machines all night.
Hey, he's a gamer too.
He is a super gamer.
He's a PC gamer at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he got his ass handed to him.
Hell yeah, he did. $5 whooped his ass.
I think that's why he won't play with me in any games. He's scared to get it. Yo, this is a challenge, dude. Now I'm challenging you. Like you talked a lot about. We got a whole Discord channel about it. Where you at, man?
Yeah.
So, anyway,
like I said, I just wanted to set the record straight that he got whooped on every arcade machine at Kung Fu Saloon, and I will welcome any challenger.
Let's get Victor.
Well, actually, let me. Like, I ain't trying to get embarrassed.
Let's get men.
Yeah.
Let's get some old school Asian friends. What? We digress.
Yeah. We're gonna leave it at that.
Let's get back to the last few topics we have here, so we can wrap this up, man. We thank y'all for sticking with us this far. I hope y'all had some laughs so far. But I want to touch on some good hip hop that came out. Fat Joe, Joey Crack. dropped a phenomenal album, and supposedly it's his last album. Yo, way to go out with some heat. He dropped an album called Family Ties. Real true to the hip hop genre. It took me back to the days when he was rapping with Big Pun. I just kind of forget how good of a lyricist that Joe is, and I think in the early 2000s or whatnot, because we were listening to Southern rap a lot, he kind of slipped off my radar. But he was putting out some, some still. He had Lean Back, that was dope.
So
but,
I was just about to interrupt you and tell you, because I know as a fan of hip hop, remember Chameleonaire dropped mixtape Messiah around that same time, and so Chameleonaire had dropped Body Rock, and so it was a response to Lean Back.
Interesting.
So I don't know if you ever heard that. It's like Southern brothers don't dance; they just pull up their pants and body rock. They body rock because of the classic song from back in the day. So Fat Joe obviously got his shine because for the late Big Pun, he was his sidekick, and we lost Big Pun.
Dead in the middle with it.
Oh, man. But Capital Punishment, one of the greatest albums of all time. Just heavy lyricism. And, like I said, Big Pun was Big Pun. He was a huge guy. Died of a heart attack, I believe, like in the late 90s. And then, Fat Joe, being the perfect sidekick, took the mantle, ran with it. And while he had been putting out music strong, and he probably had a very strong following in, right in 2000, fire extinguisher always coming through. Fire extinguisher always So, because I remember I was in high school, and Fat Joe really kind of took this mantle and pushed it forward. And then it was about 2004, I believe Lean Back came out. And from then on, he had a bunch of songs. What's Love with Ashanti. Remember that one?
Ooh, how could I forget, man?
Oh, man.
Classic.
So, Fat Joe really just took the mantle away from Big Pun and really pushed it forward. He's had some success. He's brought a bunch of big names with him on his journey, and it's bittersweet to see someone like kind of like him going out at the top of his prime, because he's dropped singles here and there. I remember they had the song with him and Remy Ma.
Oh yeah, I can't think of the name of it, but I do know which track you're talking about. Yeah, man.
All the Way Up.
Oh.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Yeah. That
was a hard ass. That was a hard ass track.
French
man.
Montana. So, like I said, he's always good for a summer banger,
banger.
New York. Remember he was on that one. I think that was forget who the artist was on it, but the remix obviously brought out New York. And then obviously you had Busta Rhymes with a lot of his tracks and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ja Rule, New York. There you go.
You can't forget. Jada Kiss, man. Yeah. So I really enjoyed this album. I listened to it a couple times. He was with the young cat Dre. I think he's also a producer too. And I was watching the interview with him doing, the kind of radio tour for this album, and he brought out a guy named Locksmith, and he did a freestyle on Sway. And that freestyle was dope, man. It was a dope freestyle. So I went back and listened to Locksmith stuff. I think he's lacking production, maybe, for his bars.
Do you know if this is the same Locksmith? How does he spell it?
It's just like LOCKSMITHE, I want to say. There's an E at the end of it. I want to say he's... no, I guess there's no E in it. Just Locksmith. Yeah, dope MC. Looking forward for it. So... if you get a chance, I recommend you check out the Sway in the Morning radio show with Locksmith, Dre, and...
Is it this one right here?
Yeah. That should be it right there. Yeah, man. Great album. Really standout tracks on there. You got Lord Above with Eminem and Mary J. Blige, which is dope. And on that track, Eminem gives a very iconic verse where he still goes in on Nick Cannon. And he gave Nick Cannon some smoke. The thing is, Nick Cannon tried to kind of come back. He was like, yo, those bars are weak. Those bars are whack. Nothing is whacker than a Nick Cannon bar. I'm just saying. What he had that one song with R. Kelly.
Gigolo.
Yeah, that's it. That song wasn't even that great. The only reason that song was great because it had R. Kelly at the time on it. You know.
Piper.
Now look at that track with R. Kelly on it. It's nothing. Nobody's listening to that. But yeah, Eminem gives some good bars in Nick Cannon in there, and the Eminem fashion. You get a sense of old Eminem on there.
Here's what you can't do this late in Eminem's career is try to diss him because
He's built an empire.
like he doesn't really have much to hold on nowadays. But rap beef, he is here for.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, his projects have definitely not been as strong as they've been in past. He's good, again, another good lyricist and things like that. But when he's not angry, the tracks don't bite. You know what I mean? It's all bark at that point. And you want to publicly diss Eminem? Well, then it's like that pen comes down from the heavens, pre-sharpened, and it's we're going to work after that. Yeah. So Eminem has always been known for that. Came up in the rap battle scene, so the pen is always sharp and ready to go for stuff like that.
It was
so
spicy, man.
So just don't try it. Yeah, because the last thing you can give him is material.
I think that's why Nick Cannon didn't respond with bars. He just went on his little radio show and talk shit. Because he knew he's like, well, if I do give him some bars, one, I'm gonna make fun of these bars. Two, Eminem's gonna respond with more bars, and it's gonna hurt you. It's gonna just hurt you more. So you
looks
just
like
don't
a white
respond.
flag, Nick.
Yeah,
looks like a white flag.
Yeah.
And like you said, anything he says is just fuel for the fire.
If you want him to respond, however, unfortunately, we weren't doing the podcast at the time that the MGK and Eminem beef was going on.
Yeah.
But MGK was probably one of the few people that actually, kind of went toe to toe. That was a hard diss track. Yeah. They kind of went back and forth. Yeah. I mean, it was.
Listen to that one.
Yeah, it was
better than an Insane Clown Posse diss.
I mean, it was no story of Adnan, but it was good. It was just as good. It was really so, good. I've heard tracks on this album. I haven't finished the album in entirety. I've been super busy this last week with work and stuff like that. But trust me, this week I got time. This week, you know what I'm saying. So I'm definitely I'm interested to check out this project. And if it ended up being his last album, he's got quite the catalog to be proud of. I mean, there's a lot of hits on there, and he I don't think he tends to water down his product. I think it tries to really stay true to the format that he put out for him as an MC. So, I'm sure this record is on par with everything else that he's put out.
Absolutely, man. Got some nice features on there, nice bars. Even Lil Wayne blesses a track, so it was pretty nice.
Absolutely.
So check that out.
Yeah. So we got this other album we're going to talk about. Actually, before you talk about it, I didn't get a chance last time to talk about the Smoke DZA, Currency, Prestige Worldwide. I don't know if you checked it out.
Prestige Worldwide.
Yeah.
I love the name of the album.
And they do kind of make they do make some Step Brother references on the album. But much like we've said on this podcast several times, those are two of the hardest working MCs in the game. Mm-hmm. And so the project holds still. I'm not going to... My top 30 for the year are pretty locked in. I'll throw them in as the honorable mention because it came in so late. But this is a dope project you should check out. Currency and Smoke DZA. They are... they're on their game on this one. Unfortunately, like we talked about several times last time, was the cutoff is coming. Yeah. And I don't think there's going to be enough play for them to go ahead and try to shuffle the deck. But it's still a dope project you need to check out.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we can round off with which Spotify told me was my favorite artist of the year. Not Action Bronson himself, but his producer, mixer, DJ, Alchemist.
Oh yeah.
He put out a nice little snack album, ironically called Land Overrides.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy Action Bronson lyrics. I thoroughly enjoy Alchemist production. I had fun with this album over Thanksgiving break. I jammed it while I was Black Friday shopping, and I had fun with it. I even went out and got me some lamb over rice with a little tzatziki sauce just to kind of celebrate the album. It was pretty dope, and yeah, I really enjoyed
Would you
it.
say that? Fuck, that's delicious. Like Action Bronson would say.
I would absolutely. And it was funny, like the vibes that I got. I saw this funny article that Italy and Sicily, they're putting out like you can buy these cheap ass houses in this town for like $1 or $50 or whatever. So as I was reading this article, I was listening to this album, and I thought it was kind of funny because it has that European vibe to it. And I was like, yo, I want to buy a house in Italy, bro. Yeah, the houses are run down as fuck, but yo,
Shit I do like.
yeah, but like I mean, you can. They had like a little thing like you had to fix them up within 3 years or whatnot, and taxes weren't that bad on them either. I was like, shit. Anybody, you boys want to invest in a house in Italy, vacation house? Get that shit out of Airbnb. I got a stepfather that can go over there and fix them up.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed this album. The first track was one of my favorites on there, Dimitri. I thought it was really good. Just that whole European vibe that Action Bronson always brings to his albums and whatnot. So, I definitely recommend checking that out if you're a fan. He's always going to give you some funny bars, give you some bars about food, and he tells a good story when he raps too.
Yeah. No, this, like I said, this project, I still can't get over, White Bronco and Blue Chips 3.
Great albums. Those are fantastic albums.
I
This was like a throwaway album.
It was in my opinion. So I enjoy this project. Don't get it twisted. It's just the last two are really good. So when I saw that he kind of crept out the door and dropped one before the end of the year, I was like, okay, I'm ready for it.
You know why I think he dropped this little album?
Oh, because of the cameo.
Yeah, the cameo in Irishman. Yeah, absolutely.
It was, and not to give any spoilers about Irishman, but at the same time, when you see his cameo, it is much deserved. It was well received. Like, I laughed so hard when I saw him in the movie. So I'm sorry to spoil that he's in the film, but you will appreciate his cameo in the film.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Action Bronson can't steer you wrong. Alchemist never, ever, ever steers you wrong. I think.
And I don't even think he was acting in that. I think,
that was
I think
just
he
him.
walked past and says, "Are y'all filming?" Because he was he's so in his element right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was. Well, I expect to walk in and see him doing the same thing if I was a New Yorker.
Is he? Oh no, that's DJ Khaled. That's gonna be in Bad Boys 3. I need to see him in more movies. I think I want to see Action Bronson in more films.
Yeah,
I want to see him work on those acting chops that he's got there.
absolutely.
So
He has his own cooking show.
He has some TV shows,
Yeah.
cooking shows, and things
Ancient
on
Aliens,
Vice. Yeah,
all that.
Yeah, he's just smoking and doing funny stuff, with his mom on top of that. So it's great, man. I love his mom. She seems awesome. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up
Absolutely.
what we have, man. That was a fun episode.
Man, I
Lots
had a
of
good
stories
time,
in
man.
there.
Oh yeah, and like I said, we tend to we tend to ramble when we're out here drinking and having a good time and stuff like that. So we just hope everyone's having a good time listening to us. Love hip hop, love kicking it with you guys. Mm-hmm. Bring the Smoke podcast, man. What else can I say?
Yeah, appreciate you, Chauncey, for letting us come through on the weekends and take up your man's time and whatnot. And appreciate Zach for always being such a gracious host and helping us out with this. And we look forward to 2020. Like I said, we're going to have way more content coming your way. If you're a fan of shisha, hookah, smoke, and hip-hop, we plan to roll some more things out for you to enjoy. And hopefully you can learn some things along the way, enjoy some music with us along the way. I think we're going to have a great 2020. Well, we're not done. We got one more episode for you all. And it's coming soon.
Season finale.
Season finale, baby. We're going to wrap this all up. We got a whole decade to wrap up. We got a year to wrap up on top of that, man. I think it's going to be a fabulous episode. And I think Trey's going to have a little smoke for me based on my choices.
No. There's no May or well. There is smoke actively being created.
So you, if you want to hear that, you gotta tune in.
The initial email, I was like, okay, he wants to get lit. He wants to get roasted.
Yeah.
So, given the spirit of winter, there will be a crock pot on high.
Yo, so if you want to get all that, get some laughs with us, tune in next episode. We'll be here for episode, was that 8? It's gonna be 8.
Episode 8 coming through.
Ooh.
The crock pot awakens.
Yo. We already got the name, so check it out, baby. Yo, we love y'all.
All right, Bring the Smoke podcast, man. Take it easy.
Peace.